World's worst humans, right there. We have a sign, so you know it's real. Welcome to World's Worst Humans. My name's Dex Carrington, and today we're going to be talking about everybody's hero, the guy who invented the lobotomy.
We chatted on the dark and grim, laughed through tales of twisted whims.
Walter Jackson Freeman II, everybody's favorite lobotomist, was born November 14th, 1895, in Pennsylvania, and his dad was a renowned ear, nose, throat doctor, and his grandfather was a surgeon. It was a medical family, just put it that way. And he didn't have much interest in medicine. I mean, it would have been a damn shame if he didn't start lobotomizing people. So it's a good thing he did gain an interest after he got a bachelor's in 1916. And then he went to medical school and got a medical degree in 1920. Then in 1923, he went to Europe to study neurology. And when he came back to Washington, then he became the director of a psychiatric ward. And he just thought it was really just, bleh, what a gross place. Which is always just a great starting point for wonderful inventions when you start there. Ugh, look at these people. They're so gross. You know genius is going to come from this general set of circumstances. So then he quickly just came up with the idea that, hey, this is all biologically caused. There are things in the brain causing mental disorders. So nothing to do with psychoanalysis, nothing to do with trauma, nothing to do with spirituality. There's no God. It's all just brain stuff, which of course is the wonderful ideology that we have today in our society, which has brought us amazing breakthrough drugs like paroxetine, and Zoloft, and all these amazing drugs that are so popular that they're sold by every drug dealer on every corner. Oh wait, none of them are. The medical model regarding mental illness, in that it's a hardware problem, not a software problem. It's a brain problem, and we can fix it somehow. That has brought us wonderful discoveries, like Effexor, like Seroquel, like Abilify, like Lyrica, like Neurontin, like all the epilepsy drugs, and Lamictal, and lithium, and wonderful synthetic chemicals that have been sued for billions and billions of dollars for ruining people's lives. But at the end of the day, they all have a black box warning saying that they may cause you to become suicidal. And nothing cures suicidal thoughts like a suicidal pill. In 1926, Freeman starts teaching at a bunch of different universities in Washington, D.C., but he's also the head of neurology at George Washington University. And there he really gets into, how do I solve the problem of mental illness, which is a hardware problem. So he starts using a bunch of chemicals, which is wonderful, because that's the precursor to all the wonderful drugs we have today that work so well. But despite us using them, we have more depression than ever. And that's how you know they work. And finally, electroshock therapy, which is the greatest invention ever, because if you can just electroshock someone enough where they forget like 20, 30 years of their life, now they forget they had a problem. And so you don't really have a problem if you don't know you have a problem. And Freeman knew that the whole time, and that's why we respect him. In 1935, Freeman, like a hero, knew deep in his heart that brain surgery was the only way to really deal with mental illness. So he heard of something called a frontal lobe ablation, which is like removing brain tissue, which they had done on chimpanzees to see how it affected them in some sort of memory task experiment. And then it had helped one, but not at all helped another. So basically there were no valid results. And he went, okay, now we have enough science to know that we should do this to a bunch of humans. Nothing screams science like, there are no valid results, but I just want it, so I'm going to do it. And that's what we respect. In the same year of 1935, Freeman hears of two guys from Portugal, a surgeon and a neurophysicist. God damn it. It is a neurophysicist. In the same year of 1935, Freeman hears of two Portuguese people. God damn it. Okay. Ugh. In the same year of 1935, Freeman hears of a neurophysicist and a surgeon from Portugal, and they have literally started just drilling into people's brains. Now, there's a life lesson in there, right? Because, what kind of confidence do you have to just start drilling into people's brains? This has never been done before, ever. They just go, no problem. I have so much confidence in my brain drilling that don't even worry about it. And everyone who doubts you, you're just like, please calm down, okay? I know what I'm doing. And so he invented this thing called the leucotome. And he's like, don't worry, I have a leucotome. I made it. And then he just drills into people's heads and injects them with alcohol, the brain, to kill the brain tissue to help them with their mental problems. And then people go, oh my God, look, like they can't talk or function anymore. They go, please just shut up. Don't criticize the leucotome. And that was the birth of the prefrontal leucotomy. Leucotomy? Leucotome. Leucotomy. Leucotomy. God damn it. So in 1936, Freeman takes this method of getting core samples of brain material, which, I mean, please, if you think you're going to get anything done in this lifetime without, brain samples, please think again. So then he rebrands it to lobotomy. And that's what geniuses do. You take someone, ideally from Portugal, who's created something great, but doesn't know how to make money off it. You steal it, you rename it, and then when they come complaining, you go, please, I have the brain samples right here. So on September 14th, 1936, Freeman, with a guy called Watts, they finally did the first prefrontal lobotomy on a 63-year-old housewife who was suffering from insomnia and depression and mixed bipolar disorder. Now, if you want to look into the legitimacy of psychiatric diagnoses, you should check out a YouTube video called Origins of the DSM by Professor Davies. And then you'll really get a whole new appreciation for the ethical aspects of Dr. Freeman. So the craziest thing about this whole story, I would say, is that there were actually people who were skeptical of the prefrontal lobotomy, which is insane, okay? If you're going to... If you're going to tell me that taking samples of my brain is not going to fix my problems, then you're on crack. Because I know when I hear a good idea, I know it. That's all I'm saying. I can't believe it, but people were actually skeptical. So what did he do? Like a genius, he went to the newspapers, got the newspapers on his side. Because he got the media on his side the whole time. That was his big move, right? Hold on. So what's a good example of that? Like Coca-Cola. No, cigarettes. So by 1945, surprisingly, Freeman starts to lose confidence in the standard lobotomy, which is insane. I don't know how you could ever lose confidence in something so great. But then he decided, I shouldn't stop doing this. I should just make it better. So then he created the transorbital lobotomy, which obviously, as the name implies, is just cheaper, it's faster, and it's more effective. I mean, that's just a given. I know when I have something that's not working, I do the transorbital version of that, and then it all resolves itself. Always. So a transorbital lobotomy is forcing a thin tube through the backbone of the eye socket into the front. A transorbital lobotomy is forcing a thin tube through the bony orbit at the back of the eye socket and injecting alcohol into the frontal lobe. Obviously. What else? I mean, how do you think you're going to get rid of that depression? Exercise? Please, think again. 1937, the first transorbital lobotomy was done by an Italian guy. Freeman said, no, I should be doing this because I'm better than you. Which again, confidence. Freeman's instrument of choice for penetrating the bone was initially an ice pick. Obviously. I mean, come on. What else are you going to use? A nail? What is this, amateur hour? And so he finally later on designed something specifically made for it. So it goes in right here underneath the eye, which again is something people respect because he needed to destroy the neuronal channels in the brain thought to give rise to mental illness. If the neuronal channels aren't causing your problems, what else could it be? Your divorce? Yeah, right. It's all a hardware problem. And so you fix it with an ice pick. So in 1946, he did his first transorbital lobotomy on a 29-year-old depressed and violent woman. And it worked, and she returned to a relatively normal life. It is my experience, though, if you take an ice pick to a violent person's head, they do tend to become less violent. So, the evidence is screaming. Keep in mind that Freeman was working with a guy called Watts, and when Watts found out about this new kind of lobotomy, he didn't like it. He said, "Whoa, people are going to get hurt. We can't do this in our clinic." And he was just being a huge downer. Okay, like, okay, you want to look up killjoy in the dictionary? It's this guy. Everyone's standing in line, everyone's excited, everyone's getting a lobotomy, and then he comes along and goes, "No, fun's over." It's like showing up at a party, being like, "All right, turn down the music." That's basically Watts. So Freeman, being a solution-oriented guy, he then travels the country, giving lobotomies to random people, spreading the joy. And a lot of times he didn't have an operating table or a place to do it, so he just rented a hotel room. And so I don't know where you get your lobotomies, but I like to get mine at a Four Seasons. Wow, John, you're in such a great mood after your divorce. Yes, I was at the Waldorf Astoria last night, and I got a core sample of my brain taken out through the eyeball. It's all good now. I'm actually going on a date tonight. So for the next number of years, he just basically went on a huge lobotomy tour around the world, just fixing people's problems in hotel rooms with an ice pick and a bag full of dreams. And at the end of the day, of the 3,500 lobotomies that he did, he killed about 490 of those people. And he was just completely arrogant and completely reckless, and there was no science to back up anything he was doing. He just basically felt that it was the right thing to do. And at the end of the day, that's what's important. Follow your intuition. Feelings are science. And that's the important life lesson. Just do what you feel all the time. Don't think rationally about anything. And if you're having problems convincing people, get the media on your side, like Freeman did. And if you really want to look at the silver lining here, he came to a mental institution when he was very young. He looked around and he just went, ugh. And at the end of the day, there's less of those people around. So he did succeed.
We chatted on the dark and grim, laughed through tales of twisted whim.